Together. Look at this. Hey, Beverly. Hi, Kier. All right. Well, happy September, everybody. Wow. I can't believe we're already halfway through the month. Hey, Beverly, are these your Read AI meeting notes or is that the COC's?
What?
Okay. Got it. All right, everybody. So we have about 27 people who have RSVP'd yes. So, well, I don't think that many will probably show up. We'll wait a few more minutes and let a few more folks trickle in. Oh, it's Signe. Hi.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
We're so happy to get the gang back together. This is great.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Sure is. Sure is. All right, so
Leah, in the chat, it says Nancy added Read AI meeting notes to the meeting, but I don't see anyone named Nancy on this call.
does anybody know of the Nancy that might have added AI notes to this? Because otherwise I might just
I think we can just remove them because we're going to have that conversation.
Yep, exactly. So I'll go on and use the power of the organizer to remove. All right. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
And Nick, welcome to your new role. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Leah. Nice to see you too.
All right, so we're just sort of letting folks trickle in here on this Tuesday afternoon. I was saying before about 27 people RSVP'd yes, and while I don't think that many people will show up, we've got about 13 on the call now, so we'll just give it another couple of minutes. But it sure is nice to see everybody. We haven't convened this group since June, and it feels like such a long time ago. So much water under the bridge. All right. Okay, well, I want to make the best use of everybody's time. So I will do my best to let folks in as they come in, but anybody else who's on Teams, I believe, has the capacity to admit folks as they come in. And so feel free to do so if you're seeing that somebody's waiting in the lobby. But welcome, everybody. It's so good to see you all. This is the first time that this group has met since June. This is the Maine Homeless Youth Provider Group meeting, just in case you thought you were in a different meeting and you don't want to be here, you're welcome to stay. But we are a statewide group of providers and individuals who work with youth who are experiencing homelessness throughout the state of Maine. And this group is a subcommittee of Maine's Continuum of Care. We meet monthly. And historically, we have spent a lot of time in these meetings trying to connect learn more about what everybody's doing across the state of Maine, and try and use this as an opportunity to create some shared language around the work that we all do. So a lot of what we're planning to do today is to reground in what this group is, to meet each other a little bit more deeply, and to talk about what this upcoming year looks like, and to really talk about how we can leverage the collective power of this group to move the needle forward in the state of Maine, to promote more and stronger resources for youth who are experiencing homelessness. So welcome. We're really glad that you made it here. So my name is Leah McDonald. I work for Preble Street. I'm a senior director of social work here, and I'm one of the co-chairs of this group. Allison, I'll let you quickly introduce yourself.
I'm Allison Small. I am Director of Homeless Services for Community Care, and that's it. That's what I do. That's it.
And Allison is the other co-chair of this group.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was important.
Oh no, it's it's all good. So just for the sake of keeping track of who all is here, if you guys wouldn't mind in the chat putting your name, your pronouns, and the organization that you are affiliated with, just so that we can all get to know each other initially through the chat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pass it over to, let's see here, Beverly. I'm wondering if anybody from the Youth Action Board would like to talk about meeting agreements and perhaps read those out loud. Got it. Okay. No, it's all good. So Beverly, welcome, with the Youth Action Board. And historically, we have been able to start this meeting reading out some meeting agreements. I think that's something that we want to make sure to do and that we can all agree on as a committee. So we'll definitely do that in meetings moving forward. So Allison, would you like to chat a little bit with folks about what this committee is and talk a little bit about what's new this year in terms of us being a subcommittee of the COC?
Well, I guess, sure. I think so I've always conceptualized this group as a part of the COC's larger mission to deliver services across the entire continuum of life experiences. And so what's changed over the summer is that this is actually now an official committee of Maine's Continuum of Care. Really what that means is that our role has always leaned first towards supporting one another in the work we're doing with youth. And becoming a part of this larger collective really elevates the voice of the people we're serving and the work we're doing with those individuals, and puts them in a place to actually be sort of driving some of the services and experience and funding that is coming into the state, partially on behalf of them. So we're sort of experimenting right now because we feel strongly that the shared language and just connection that comes from these meetings happening every month is a huge benefit to the work that we're all providing. And we also now have this additional piece coming in, which is really more of the policy and the long-term planning piece of that. Through this process of becoming an official committee, there's been a couple things that have changed. But I want to point out that the thing that really hasn't changed is our overall purpose. So the things that we're looking to do, the activities we're participating in, haven't changed. What's changed really is that we've now been empowered to be making those recommendations, potentially just for direct implementation into the larger system that we're working within. So this group actually, we are the youth expert in the room, and that's why this works so closely with the YAB, is that this is a place where we want to have the people doing the work and the people receiving the work really working together to improve the system from the inside. So continue showing up, continue having the same ideas, continue seeing the same combinations of trainings and discussions, and sometimes the really nitty-gritty, just dry policy stuff that we've done before, like with coordinated entry, that will all continue. So really the primary goals of this committee are to just create connection and relationship amongst providers, and also making sure that we are always going back to the youth experience who's receiving the service and centering that and lifting that up for others. And then also a big part of this is just making sure that we're using the same language and orientation to best practices. We really try to fit that in through all of the trainings and the opportunities to sort of step out and do stuff together. And then also doing a little bit more of that kind of the drier stuff. So this is identifying gaps. This is working to push forward initiatives like the youth coordinated entry system that are going to really allow us to see the success that our programs are looking for. And also thinking of another like upcoming, I see Joe here. So Joe put this bug in my ear a couple days ago. Really being more involved in things like the youth addendum for the PIT count, which is the point in time count that happens every winter. So there's a good combination of kind of work and play and education all happening at the same time. There are some kind of more structural things that have changed about the meeting. I think everybody has seen, if you've attended these meetings, the people that are showing up tend to vary based on the topic and sort of like the flavor of that month's meeting. And it's important to us that we preserve that. We want to make sure that everybody feels welcome when they feel they have something to add. So this will maintain as an open committee, meaning that anybody is able to attend. But there is an ask that if you are attending regularly, that you do still sign up to be a member of this committee through the Maine Homeless Planning website. And I think, have you sent that out yet, or is it going to go out with the minutes, Leah?
I sent it out, but I'll actually drop it in the chat right now. And so we would love for you all to go on and sign up for this committee so that you can get emails, not just from me, but from the COC as well, regarding all the business of this committee.
And which is actually another big change that we want to make sure people are aware of, is that part of this reorganization is actually streamlining a lot of the administrative functions of different committees. And so what that means is that all of our messaging, Leah is our champion who does all the emailing, that will all start flowing through the Maine Homeless Planning website, which is kind of who owns all of these committees. So make sure that you are signed up as a participant. That gets you onto the listserv to get notifications of meetings, but also anything else that's pertinent. We like to lift up needs of other organizations also, if that's something that's coming up throughout the month. And also the calendar invites. Leah did a really good job of getting us all set up for calendar invites for the whole year. And then we learned that we're going to be getting our own link through Maine Housing. So it'll be switching over to a Teams account that's actually owned by Maine Housing. And that a part of that will include introducing AI generated notes and minutes. That's a conversation that we're hoping to be able to talk a little smarter about a month from now. That's sort of being developed on the other end right now about what that will look like. The thing that stood out to me the most about learning about the change to requiring AI notes is that one thing that will do is it will automatically kind of kick out those weird little like Klingon AI bots that sometimes follow us around the internet that we don't know are there. So we won't have to worry about those kind of sneaking in anymore. What did I miss in that, Leah? Anything?
No, that was a great summary of all the housekeeping stuff that we've got for this committee. Thank you.
I did forget one other thing, and I know we have Beverly here. And the YAB has historically played a pretty large role in this committee. And we thought it was important to just lift up the idea that if you have young adults that are receiving services through your program or who have recently exited programs or otherwise interested in sort of more of this policy development expertise work, this is a meeting that is open in part because we want to see those faces here too. So if you are working with folks that have identified an ask to be more involved in sort of this side of what's happening, we would love to hear from them. Before we meet again, we will be sending out just sort of some best practices about how to approach that, how to encourage individuals that you know have lived experience to participate, and then just some general expectations about the way we frame up using that expertise. What I'm saying without saying is that there is an ask that there's some sort of compensation for their time. But we will get into all the details of that. So just know that this is a place where anybody who is in support of improving and furthering our work is welcome. And so stay tuned for more. Now I've finished the list I was given.
Awesome. Thank you. So for those of you who have attended these meetings in the past, you know that we sort of follow a typical structure. We usually open it up with some things. You know, this is the first meeting of the year, so we needed to talk about some housekeeping things. But we always like to start also hearing from the Youth Action Board. And so thank you, Beverly, for dropping the Youth Action Board update in the chat. I'll go ahead and read that out loud just for the full group. So the Youth Action Board, or YAB, is a statewide forum for youth and young adults aged 14 to 24. Members have lived experience with homelessness, housing instability, poverty, or involvement in systems like foster care, juvenile justice, and corrections. They use their experiences to help inform and create systems change and policy development across Maine. The YAB currently has 4 members with a maximum capacity of 8. Our members represent 6 counties: Androscoggin, Aroostook, Cumberland, Oxford, Waldo, and York. And we are actively looking for new members. So if you know a young person who might be interested, please feel free to share Beverly's contact information or have them reach out to her directly. Thank you. And Beverly, if you could drop your contact information in the chat as well, that would be wonderful. So we always like to hear what the YAB is up to with their various things across the state. So thanks for that update, Beverly. Anything else from any members of the YAB who might be on the call? All right. So our plan for the rest of the meeting is to really do essentially 2 things. First of all, we want to make sure that there's an opportunity to build this group to be what we need and want it to be for the rest of the year. So Allison and I have a lot of great ideas of things that we've done in the past that seem to have worked well. But this really is our collective space, and we want to make sure, you know, we get an hour and a half together once a month, and only for 9 months out of the year. So we want to make sure that we're making the best use of everybody's time in your commitment to show up. So we want to talk about what the rest of the year looks like. The other thing that we really want to do is we want to provide the opportunity. It's been a while since we've all connected, and one of the primary purposes or reasons and goals of this group is to make sure that we really deeply understand what's happening in the various sectors across the state, because the more in alignment we all are and the more we understand the work that's happening throughout Maine, the better we're going to be positioned to be able to advocate for, you know, legislation and systems improvement and all the things. So we really want to focus a lot of time today on just sort of regrounding with each other and regrounding with the work that we're all doing. So to kick us off with that, we'd love to hear from each of you about who you are and the work that you're doing. So I recognize there are some folks who are here from the same organization. So not everybody necessarily needs to chat, but we'd love to hear from all the organizations that are represented here. And, you know, introduce yourself, pronouns, and the role that you play. But then please give us an overview of the work that you do in Maine, the work that your agency does. It's also been 2 or 3 months since we've caught up, and there is a lot going on in the state and in the country and in the world. And so, talk to us a little bit about how that work may or may not have impacted the work that you do. Yeah, I think that's the ask. So is anybody interested in kicking us off with that today?
I can start.
Awesome. Thanks, Natasha.
My name is Natasha Turgot, District Social Worker for Lewiston Public Schools and the McKinney-Vento Liaison for Lewiston. I also oversee attendance and truancy in the district and foster care students. So part of my role also is to oversee and run a student resource center. So in Lewiston, we do have a functioning student resource center where students can come shower, do their laundry. I do a lot of the youth laundry for them while they're in school as well. We have a toiletry closet, hygiene closet, food closet, and clothing closet as well. That's all free to students. And I work really closely with New Beginnings and Auburn District as well. And then many other districts. I'm receiving a lot of referrals all over the state from kids traveling to Lewiston. So I support any student that is living in Lewiston, even if they're not attending Lewiston Public Schools, but if they're living in Lewiston and still attending another school, we can still support them at a resource center with any needs that they have.
Thank you, Natasha. And feel free, everybody else, just to sort of pop in as there's a gap from the next person. Or I could call on folks.
I can go next.
So, oh, who's going? I'll mute.
I'll pass it off to you, Danielle, after. Hi, everyone. My name is Signe Lynch. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the State Coordinator of Homeless Education under the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. And I work in the Office of School and Student Supports at the Department of Ed. So a few updates, and something that would be most relevant, I think, for this group is over the past couple of school years, we've had a state-funded Preventing Student Homelessness program that really came from some of the resources that we had during the American Rescue Plan and our legislature noting that there was significant needs in our communities as our schools became better at identification and supporting McKinney-Vento students. And so we've had this very flexible pilot program that has been going on over the past couple of years, and schools continue to have access to some of that funding that has allowed for things like rental assistance and utilities and critical home repairs, as well as the option to use funding to bolster their McKinney-Vento programs. And that really is a local control decision on how they use that funding. That was cut in the most recent session. Well, I will say it was made into a permanent program by the legislature, and then when it went across appropriations, they cut that program from 1.5 million, a continuation each year, to 125,000. So very, very limited fundings, and it's rather unfortunate too because we're just in such a pinch of resources. So I think there's a lot of communications coming from community-based organizations to schools and schools to community-based organizations, just trying to navigate the resource landscape right now. But wanted to name to this group that resource is certainly more limited than it ever has been over the past couple of years. And really, we're looking at a more limited resource than we've had in a long time for McKinney-Vento programming. With some federal doors closing as well. So schools still having to meet all of the statute about removing barriers for students experiencing homelessness, but working with much more limited resources available right now. And Danielle, do you want to go?
Yep, I'm going right now. I just unmuted. So my name is Danielle Bailey, she, hers. I am a youth housing and outreach specialist with the Mid-Coast Youth Center in Bath. So Um, Me along with another coworker, Jenna, we were hired because we have they got a grant. They wrote a grant, so they were awarded a grant by Maine State Housing. So I am the McKinney-Vento liaison with the Brunswick district. So we also have one who's longstanding, Donna Vorhaven. She's with Bath. She's with Bath, RSU1, and MSAD 75, and then we have Jenna who's with Richmond, but she and I also work together. So we have the skate park in the center. So we help with that. It's like an after school programming, and they do a bunch of stuff over there. I don't do that much over there at the skate park. I'm usually in Brunswick. And so basically our whole goal is for right now is to keep people from being homeless. And if they are, like I have a couple of clients who are in a hotel while we try to figure out housing for them. Because it's the job, it's like sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's how do we house the unhousable right now when we have to kind of like fight, not advocate for them and figure out that part of getting them housed when they have poor rental history. As far as, and I have been working with a lot of the new Mainers. So that is a little bit nerve-wracking because I'm not really a part of the IRC or anything like that, but I'm always like kind of aware of the political climate. And I asked them, do y'all have like plans if somebody gets taken? Like what do y'all have in motion? But I just ask questions. I'm not necessarily a part of them. Like I am just with the school district. There's no housing. And so that's that part. But yeah, so again, our main goal is to try to, between families and unaccompanied youth. So we do have transitional housing. It's all full right now, but we have transitional housing above our office space where we house 18 to 24-year-olds. And we try to go ahead and help them get launched off, into the world. So after I get them, we intake them in, and if they have to go over to Kirsten, we have another community integration worker who helps assist with that. Organization also has workforce, so the young folks who are in transitional housing get connected through workforce, so they can, have help working. I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah, we're just hoping that this grant is funded again. I'm thinking that it's going to be used to kind of take the place of federal funding that we're losing. So yeah, just trying to keep people housed. We can also our stuff is not like, so Sean will just take care of rent. And we can assist with other things. We can assist with moving costs, mediation with landlords, security deposits, utility arrears, anything pretty much that will keep you housed, we will try our best to do. So that's, I'm trying to think of, I think that's it.
Thank you, Danielle. Who else would like to go?
I'm happy to go next if that's all right.
Great.
So I'm Gabriel Smith. Most people call me Gabe, or Big Guy, or varying other things. I'm the Community Services Director at New Beginnings, which means I'm responsible for our street outreach program, our prevention and training program, and I work with the Youth Action Board. I would suggest in almost every way, the Youth Action Board is an independent sort of arm, but in regards to the fiscal part, the compensation part, and just being a support to Bev as a human, that's really sort of my role related to YAB. If anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. New Beginnings is a lot of things here in Lewiston. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. We have a street outreach program here. We have a drop-in center at 134 College Street, where young people can come to get, a break from the streets and have their basic needs met. And also, sometimes they just need somewhere that they can get some quiet sleep. And so we do a lot of different things down there. We try to provide resources that are available to young people in a middle-class home, as best we can. We also have multiple residential programs. So we have a transitional living program for minors from really 15 to 17. And then we have what we call a community living program, which is also a TLP program for 18 to 20 through 21-year-olds here in Lewiston. I do want to mention we have 2 units up in Farmington, and right now we have a vacancy at our parenting unit. And so that's a 2-bedroom unit. 1 bedroom obviously would be a nursery or a child's bedroom, depending on the age. They are supported through case management with New Beginnings through our transitional living program. And so we have a vacancy there. We also have 3 units in Augusta. I'm in an office there. And we are actually working to sort of bolster our efforts in Augusta related to street outreach. I won't get into the nitty gritty of it all, but we're trying to show the state really what is necessary to do the work they're requesting of us in any given community. And so we're trying to, on a micro level, sort of recreate the resources in Augusta that are available to young people here in Lewiston. And so we're doing that. We do a number of other things. At the end of the day, we're a value-based agency. Our goal is to support young people and whatever ways they wish for us to. And so we're a youth-led agency. We certainly believe in compensating young people for their time. I like to hear that actually at the beginning when we were talking about bringing young people to this meeting and the need for compensation. And so always available. Certainly reach out to me if you ever need me or if you have any additional questions. He, him pronouns, and once again, it's Gabe Smith.
I can go. Um, Kirsten, I saw that. I'm Hannah Yosikis. I'm the Assistant Director of Teen Housing and Outreach at Preble Street. I'll share some stuff about our housing and outreach teams, and then I think Kirsten will talk more about the shelter side of it. So right now in housing, we have a transitional living program, a TLP, that serves Portland and Biddeford, York, and Cumberland counties. We also have transitional housing, and we have rapid rehousing. We're slowly working on building back up rapid rehousing and transitional housing because we secured our funding for the next year. And then we're also anxiously waiting for the end of this month to hear hopefully about a new funding opportunity, maternity group home that we would serve York and Cumberland counties with. And so if we do get that, that's just a new opportunity for us to serve more youth, pregnant and parenting youth. And if we don't, then we have other contingency plans in the works. And that's kind of what our outreach team is focusing on right now. We're starting to build up our mobile diversion team and really getting into those rural communities that we serve. But also with our street outreach team, the funding is winding down at the end of this month, which you all are aware of. And so we're just really trying to get these last 2 weeks in, making consistent routes, connecting with as many youth as we can prior to the funding ending. But we also do have plans in place prior or come October 1st, what that will look like. And we are very excited that we will still be able to serve youth in a street outreach capacity. It's going to look different. But if we do get maternity group home, we obviously will be able to hire and fully support those youth again. So we're really just waiting for these next 2 weeks. We'll find out by the end of the month. We're really, really hoping that we do get it. But if we don't, we also have plans that we can still serve the same amount of youth that we're serving now, and we can still support those youth that are unhoused in our community.
Great, thanks, Hannah. My name is Kirsten Mulcahy. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the director of our teen services programs here at Preble Street. And so, like Hannah just talked about, we have 3 different kind of umbrellas of programming: housing, outreach, and shelter. And so I'll talk a little bit about our shelter services today. We have a 28-bed shelter in Portland called the Joe Chrysler Teen Shelter. We also have a day space, the Teen Center. Currently, we just broke ground actually this week on our construction project to have both of those programs housed in one building for a 24-hour program. And so with that, our Teen Center is actually operating out of the 3rd floor of our building at 38 Preble Street. So all of our teen services programs are now housed in one building on 38 at 38 Preble Street. With the plan to, in hopefully a little over a year, transitioning back to 343 Cumberland and being a 24-hour day space and overnight shelter. We serve youth from the ages of 12 and 21, and we have the 12-hour shelter license. So our shelter is open from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and our teen center space is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Like many of you guys, we're providing the basic needs for folks. So we have 3 meals a day. We have showers, laundry, case management services, and really just are providing a safe space for young people to be who are experiencing homelessness. We have all 3 of our programs, just to kind of name for folks, have online referral forms now. And so if you're ever in need of referring someone to any of our 3 programs, we can actually probably drop at least Housing and Outreach's referral form in the chat. Our shelter referral form is meant to be filled out by our shelter staff because we work to, as much as possible, work with folks to divert them from shelter if at all possible. And so our staff here are trained to kind of have those conversations. Many of you guys who also have shelters are probably having very similar conversations with folks. But our main way to refer to shelter is through our 874-1197 number, which we can also include in the chat. What else about shelter? Currently, we're hovering right around 20 young people in shelter. So we do have capacity to continue to take referrals and work with folks who are currently needing shelter. I think that's it. Please do let us know if you have any questions. We'll put all that information though in the chat for you guys.
Great. And there's also some new information coming in the chat, just to keep an eye on that. Who else would like to go? Oh, Lexi, did I see you come off mute? Uh-oh. We can't hear you, Lexi. All right. Lexi might be having audio issues. Who else would like to go?
I can go. My name is Lindsay White. I work at the Opportunity Alliance. I'm the senior director for the case management programs there. For those who don't know, the Opportunity Alliance is the community action program for Cumberland County. And so the Opportunity Alliance has the community action programs as well as mental health services because some organizations merged together, thus creating the Opportunity Alliance. So it is a blend of the 2 things. And so We have services like the 988 contract mobile crisis residential services for adults, adult crisis unit. And then we have children's services on a case management spectrum, as well as services like Head Start and counseling services for younger kids. So I'm here, and Nick Haft as well, as part of, we oversee homeless youth services, which is a subcontract with Preble Street, where we are providing housing focused case management for youth and families. I would say that in years past, that waitlist has been tremendously long because it's a low barrier case management service. And in recent months, there has been much less referral flow, predominantly in the new Manor referrals. We are seeing them starting to trickle back in now that school's back, and I think families tend to trust in school personnel and doctors' offices. And so some referrals and the numbers are bumping up, but there was certainly a decline in services, and I think a hesitation to be going on the record, so to speak, for some of our clients. So that was a change, but hopefully we're trending back in the right direction with receiving a lot of notice from schools about kids who are not in stable housing situations. And so far, knocking on wood, no kids who are sleeping outside. That's a relief. And I think that might be all for me.
Lindsay, I have a question for you. This is Allison from Community Care. Can you use more words to talk about low barrier case management?
So it's homeless youth services is a case management service that has no insurance requirement, and that is really rare. Almost all the case management, the traditional case management services in Maine tend to require insurance, right? Maine Care Service. And so we can serve youth or families who have no insurance. Every once in a while, people who have private insurance, that's obviously quite rare. So, and there's no formal and thorough intake process. We are just trying to get a brief assessment of what the situation is and get in there quickly. And then provide a high level of case management support. So this is a higher intensity model than some case management systems. But the idea is that there's less eligibility requirement and less waitlist time.
Thank you. All right, so we have a couple of other organizations that we haven't heard from yet. Anybody want to go? Lexi, we still can't hear you, and there's like static color moving across your screen, oddly.
I don't mind going.
Great, thanks, Lily.
My name's Jasmine Bradley. I am from Next Step Domestic Violence Project. I am the new Washington County youth educator and advocate. I've actually been at Next Step for 6.5 years now. I was actually in the housing program before switching over to youth education. So I felt like attending these meetings might be a good in-between. I have insights with housing and learning the ropes with the education and outreach. So I love to be part of the youth services, and I'm learning more about what's being offered in Washington County and Hancock County. Next Step does serve both Hancock and Washington counties. We have offices in Machias and Ellsworth. And right now we're just trying to get into schools with our workshops and providing our workshops for pre-K all the way up to 12. And then we also do college, and we do agency trainings and outreach trainings as well. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for having me.
Hi, my name is Lily. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm trying to spend a little time outside. Been on Zoom all day. I work at the Cutler Institute on the engagement team. So we work with young people who are systems involved either in child welfare or in juvenile justice, and we partner closely with youth transition specialists at OCFS. And so we reach young people starting now age 11 through 13, and then primarily 14 and up. And so this is a really beneficial space for me to learn because we're statewide programs. So I often am able to sort of send information to casework staff since we kind of operate more on an advocacy policy level. So thank you for having me.
I can go next, Leah. I'm Alice Preble, she, her pronouns. I work at DHHS, Office of Behavioral Health, and within that office, Children's Behavioral Health. I oversee the contracts for the youth homeless continued care in the state, for youth peer support, family peer support. I am the co-chair of the Region 2 Homeless Council and a voting member of the statewide Homeless Council. I don't have a whole lot of updates except that I keep advocating. There's just so much unknown right now. And so I keep advocating to the extent I'm able for this particular population, being youth and young adults experiencing homelessness. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot. We're just waiting. I mean, like everybody else, to see what other cuts or what other challenges we may be faced with based on federal decisions.
Thanks, Alice. Joe, do you want to give a quick overview of?
Yeah, I was
your
really
work?
trying to hold the floor for Lexi to get her audio squared away, but I'll go quickly. Joe Locke, I use he and him pronouns. I work at Maine Housing in the Homeless Initiatives Department, and our department oversees the Emergency Solutions Grant, TRRP, the Continuum of Care work, coordinated entry. My role is primarily with coordinated entry to ensure that our Continuum of Care gets the support they need to have a functioning coordinated entry system in Maine, and also do monitoring on the side. And just happy to be here. I was involved with the YHDP, the Youth Homelessness Administration projects that are funded now through the Continuum of Care, through their inception, and still get to see the great work that's being done by the organizations that we funded. And I like to come to these meetings to see all the great work that everybody else is doing as well. Thank you.
Leah, can I add one thing from the DOE? So I was reflecting, I was like, I just was so negative about preventing student homelessness because it makes me sad. So I forgot to say, on a more positive note, we still are, the Maine Department of Education is still going to be hosting in-person McKinney-Vento regional meetings this school year. And so we did just confirm the dates. So I'm putting the registration form in the chat, and it is great when we have community-based organizations and other state agencies join these meetings. They are in person. We do have a virtual option if you can't make it, but they really are a space for McKinney-Vento liaisons and school staff that support students experiencing housing instability to meet one another, connect with community-based organizations. We do overview of McKinney-Vento And I know a lot of people in this meeting here have joined them in the past, but would love to see some of the familiar faces and have some contributions from this team at those meetings. So wanted to share that here.
And I recognize that we still haven't heard from Lexi with audio issues. Allison, I'm wondering if you just want to give a quick overview of community care work.
I would love to. The really cool thing about going after Preble Street goes is that I have the luxury of just saying community care oversees virtually identical programs in teen services to Preble Street. So whatever they're not providing a service, we are. The only exception is that for emergency shelters, our shelter is Region 3, which is kind of like the Bangor North. And then Gabe spoke in the chat a little bit about Preble's or New Beginnings being Region 2. So that's sort of that Lewiston Mid-Coast band. And then Preble's down there south, the bottom of the state. So yeah, we provide the same services. And I think Lexi just introduced herself in the chat. Lexi is our program director for Youth Homeless Services. She's having some challenges with her audio right now. And one thing I will tee up just for a future meeting is that one of the newer programs that I oversee is actually the main statewide youth peer support network, which is not specific to individuals experiencing homelessness, but speaks to a lot of similar challenges and needs for additional support. So I think we'll be talking more about that in a future meeting, kind of giving an overview of the service, how to make referrals, all of the nuts and bolts. So that's my teaser for now. Over and out.
Awesome. Cool. Is there anybody that we didn't hear from? I think we got everybody. Nice. Okay. Well, thank you. Again, it's so good to get everybody back together. Amazing to hear all the things that are happening across the state. Thank you for sharing all of that stuff. So the next thing that we want to talk about is just a quick conversation about this meeting. You know, Allison and I have co-chaired this group for a little while now, and we're constantly trying to determine whether and how to make this space the best possible use of time for folks who are doing this work, because we know very well how busy everybody is. And we don't want this just to be another meeting in people's calendars. And so where we've landed over the past couple of years is that it seems that the meetings and the primary topics that resonate most are meetings that cover trainings that are relevant to the work that we all do, regardless of the kind of organization that we work for, and opportunities to hear from one another, like what we just did. So what we call panel discussions. So we're in the process of creating the calendar for this year. I want to name, I kind of go back to something that I said a little bit earlier in this meeting, which is we tend to follow a similar structure every month, right? We hear from the Statewide Youth Action Board. We have an opportunity for program updates and announcements. And then really the bulk of the meeting is this either training or panel discussion. And then we also always want to reserve time for anything urgent that is sort of impactful in the current moment that we need to decide or dialogue about as a group. But we always like to plan as far in advance as possible so that people can decide what meetings make the most sense for you to attend based on the role that you play. And so that you can spread the word to other folks that you work with that like, oh, there's this really great training coming up in the Homeless Youth Provider Group. I think you should attend next week. So all that to say, some trainings and panel discussions that have worked really well in the past. I'm about to list them, and then I'm going to ask for your feedback, just to give you a heads up on that. And then any ideas that you guys have that I'm not talking about. So in the past, we've heard trainings from Haley Veruso, who's the Director of Anti-Trafficking Services at Preble Street, on human trafficking and sexual exploitation of youth in this realm. We've also gotten trainings and had discussions around McKinney-Vento. and heard specifically from liaisons who are doing this work. We've talked a lot about youth coordinated entry over the years and the ways that it actually matters to the work that we're doing and how to better that system. And then we've also had panel discussions where we've heard specifically from youth shelter providers in various parts of the state, because we've got a number of youth shelters now in Maine, and the work that's happening there. We've had panel discussions about outreach work that's happening, and then we've also had panel discussions about the various housing resources that may be available for youth across the state. So really, those are the things that we're hoping or thinking that we're going to focus on this coming year. But I also recognize there are a lot of topics that I didn't just mention that this group might be interested in hearing more about. And so I'd love to hear from this group, what do you think about those topics that I just named? And do you have any suggestions for conversations that you'd really like to have this group take part in? All right, so general, either in the chat or on your screen, thumbs up if those sound like topics that you're really psyched to listen to and participate in. Thumbs to the side if you're neutral. Thumbs down if you're that sounds terrible and I'm never going to come to one of these meetings again. Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Awesome. Any other suggestions? Feel free to throw something in the chat. Again, this is your meeting. This is our meeting. We are only as strong as the folks who show up here and use our collective voices to advocate for a better system in Maine. Okay, Allison, sounds like we, oh wait, okay, Natasha. I'm interested in those who are experts in gathering youth documentation that comes to us with none. Yes, we can definitely talk about that. That is a shared experience, for sure. Great. Thank you for that feedback. And then stay tuned for a specific calendar of when we'll do each of these topics over the course of the year. Okay, and now I'm going to pass it off to Allison to walk us through the next piece. Over to you.
Always muted. So, it's been a summer. It's been a summer that followed a spring that followed the end of a winter. And so it seems like a good use of our time to just briefly sort of support each other in the muck. And then also, Signe, I really appreciate the way you looped back around to find something positive to hold on to. And I think that is a practice that it's very important for us to be participating in and also modeling for the people that we're working with. So what we would like to do is actually, Leah is going to randomly dump us into some small groups. And just very quickly, I can't remember how long we said we had for this, Leah. Probably
Why don't we take about, yeah, I was going to say 10 minutes, but I think we're going to have about 4 people per room. So yeah, why don't we do 12 minutes?
12 minutes. So here's the broad and specific prompt that we'd like people to sort of be thinking about and sharing about is, what are the ways that you're finding pathways to resilience professionally? And is there anything in particular that you are doing to support resiliency for staff and youth that you are intersecting with during this time we are all experiencing together? So how are you taking care of yourself, and what have you found to be effective in supporting staff and youth that you are interacting with professionally? And then we'll come back here and close out.
That sounds good. Yeah, and actually we'll do about 10 minutes for this, okay? So are there, before we break into the rooms, are there any questions about that? Yes, we'll put that in the chat, Beverly. And really, the goal here is to talk a little bit about resiliency within this sphere that we're all living in, which is perpetuating a lot of harm. So, all right, we're going to put you guys in rooms, and we'll be back here in about 10 minutes. Sorry, this is my first time I've ever done this. How do I do it? There we go.
Hit the R. That's what you said.
Hello. I think it was like, what strategies have you used to kind of be resilient this summer and deal with stuff this summer, and how you model that for your staff and for youth?
Yeah, I just got the question again. What are ways that you are finding pathways to resilience these days professionally? Is there anything in particular that you are doing to support resiliency for staff and youth during this period of uncertainty?
Be something wrong with your speaker, Eden? I think we can all hear each other.
I'm going to put the question in the chat for Eden so that she can see it. Yeah. Can you guys see the question in the chat that I just put in?
Mhm.
Okay. Just want to make sure everyone can see it. Perfect. So as far as, I guess, myself being someone that's worked in this field for a long time and just like human services since being out of high school, gosh, 12 years. um it's really hard to work with the public, I think, and especially when working with youth or people going through homelessness. And then also, if there's like a dual, so if you're working with substance use and youth, or youth and homelessness, or domestic violence and youth, and all of those pieces and barriers that folks have these days, I think it's really hard. And over time, there's definite some burnout. I know that for me in the housing program, I needed a change, and I could see that I needed a change, and I just wanted to better my mental health. And I was really stuck in those feelings of people were blaming me that they weren't having a place to live. And I know that, no, I can't control that. I wanted to be able to provide more of a positive, just more positive things in the world, just because I know that that's who I am as a person. I feel very positive. I'm very bubbly, and I like to be more present, and working in the shelter, I was very just stuck there, and I just felt very trapped some days. I was always being needed, and I still am. I'm still getting calls about shelter, even though I'm not working in the shelter anymore. But that's okay. We're all a team, and that's what matters. But as far as like finding resiliency, I think really leaning on my coworkers is super important. We have such an amazing team and an amazing excuse me, staff at Next Step that we all can really lean on each other and really confide in each other. And the calls are getting hard and harder and harder, and we have really complex situations. So I think when we do have the opportunities to do meetings in person, those are always helpful. We actually are having a staff meeting on a farm this week, so that's going to be fun. So I think when you're able to do those things, even if it is small, even if it is only, every other month or every 3 months, because we try to do quarterly meetings in person, but then monthly meetings are on Zoom. But everyone, because we have 2 different offices in our counties, it is hard to get everyone together. But I think just knowing that your team and your coworkers are going to be there for you, that to me keeps me resilient. So that's just knowing that I have a team that can be there for me. I know that I'm going to be able to provide the best service possible to those that I'm serving, whether that be youth or people that might be calling our helpline. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jasmine. For me, I really enjoy the in-person meetings, really, whether it's supervision or more team building stuff outside of work where we can kind of leave the work for a second and focus on each other and build those relationships. I think that's very helpful. And in terms of resiliency for staff, also what you said about like helping staff contain their roles, like understand the parameters of their roles, that they're not responsible for the outcomes of their clients, right? They're just trying to help clients along to achieve their identified goals, and that staff need the support in being able to parse through that complexity, which can be difficult. In terms of youth, though, I actually just started this position this past week. I have a lot of experience working with the homeless population, mostly adults. So working with youth is a newer field for me. So I am curious to hear from all of you kind of how you help youth deal with kind of more difficult times that might be even more broader than their personal lives, societal stuff as well.
Well, Beverly, I think that's awesome, your story, and thank you for sharing that and feeling safe to do that. Yeah, one thing that when you sparked my brain then thinking. So one thing that our team is really just has passion in is empowering youth, and we love we have we're a podcast at Next Step called Relationship Rewind. So I don't know if you guys listen to Apple Podcast or anything, definitely look it up. I'm one of the co-hosts, but then Allie, our director, and Carrie Clark, our other youth educator for Hancock County, we have a bunch of episodes on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and we talk with youth about their just how they see social media like contributing to this like the behaviors of relationships within social media, movies, TV shows, and how we're normalizing such behavior that is not okay. And it's so empowering, and when we talk to those youth, and they feel so confident, and I love seeing them go from being really like uncertain about what we're going to be talking about to like they have all the confidence in the world, and it's just amazing. So for me, the word of the year is empowerment, and I'm just going to keep using that word probably for the next 5 years, maybe 4 years, because I think that's what we have to do. We have to lift each other up right now, and we have to be there for each other. It's a time of uncertainty, so empowerment is the word. Also, what's everyone doing for allergies? Like, my eyes are burning, I'm coughing, I'm dying. uh,
Alright.
One book that I suggest is Trauma Stewardship. I can't remember who it's by. I don't know if you guys have heard of that book, Trauma Stewardship. That's one book that Next Step has all advocates and volunteers really look towards reading about. It has a lot of that resiliency in it and how to gain resiliency in the work that we do. So I just suggest maybe looking that book up.
Yeah, it's a great book. I agree.
Yes.
Oh, we got 6 back.
We just got sucked out like the vortex. So it was like I was in like mid-sentence. So how we do that, Hannah, Alice, and Gabe, is just how we do it.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, Danielle?
It's so weird.
Danielle, do you do those dance classes with Tony in downtown Bath?
No, I have because I was taking salsa in Portland, and so we have an instructor in Bath, at the Pink Parlor in Bath.
Yes.
So I do it on Fridays. And then I do belly dance with Josephina. Though we were in the International Dance Festival on the pier with Tony this summer.
Tony.
Yeah.
He's a character. I love that guy.
We try to get him to come to class. I think Tony just wants to do his own thing, so he doesn't want to partner dance, because partner dancing is a whole different beast. So, yeah.
Thank you. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Have we all made it back through the vortex?
I know.
Everybody made it through the vortex.
Anyone want to spend a little more time talking about what they talked about in their small group?
He's just talking about how to be resilient, how to do self-care, and that we just all need to make sure we do it for the most part, I think. And it's a lot. Everything is pretty weighty right now. I have that book. I took a class. Trauma stewardship. I have that at home. But yeah, just how you make sure you prioritize your self-care as much as you can. And I don't know, I was just saying in ours before we got, before it ended, that we just have to persevere through this and maintain our sanity, because this is not sustainable. So we just have to ride this out. Unfortunately, it's not going to be fun, nor is it going to be easy, but I don't know what the alternative is.
Doesn't get you any farther, so.
And everyone should come to salsa class because it's fun.
Thanks, Danielle. Anybody else discover any really helpful things? Terrible with the chat monitoring. Jasmine, what did you just put in the chat? That's what I'm doing.
Putting me on the spot. I said, empower one another to strive for the best and to be our best selves. So in my group, that's kind of what I said at the end. We're all about empowering one another at Next Step and really encouraging one another to do the best things, encourage each other in our strong suits. And when we work with survivors as well, we really want them to be empowered and confident in the decisions that they're making, informing and educating people to the best that we can. And I think that's what we can do right now. That's what we can control. And I think that's what we have to remember. Like, unfortunately, we can't change the things that are happening in the world, but what we can do is empower one another that, yes, this is happening, but we can control these little things, and those things that we're really great at, we can become even better at and even better at. And I think that's what we have to remember.
Thank you. Anybody else? We can 1, 2, 3 hang up. It would be fun.
Well, that is everything that we had for today. I will send an email out later this week with the notes from today, and also just a calendar of those trainings that we talked about earlier, so that you can spread the word and make sure that the right folks are in the room over the coming months. The next time we meet is going to be Tuesday, October 14th. If there's a new calendar invite, we'll send that. Stand by for that. And thank you all so much. We really appreciate you being here today. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.